Every single one of us has a voice inside our head. And let's be honest, it's not always the kindest voice. Most days, that voice is quick to criticize, quick to remind us of our mistakes, quick to tell us that we're not enough. But here's the truth. The way you talk to yourself is shaping the way you live your life. If you keep repeating the same limiting thoughts, you'll keep creating the same limiting results. But if, for just 30 days, you decide to change the conversation with yourself, you can change your entire reality. Think about this. Your brain is listening to every word you say. Every time you tell yourself, "I can't do this," your brain registers it as a command. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," your brain starts looking for evidence to prove it. But the opposite is also true. If you start saying, "I am capable, I am disciplined, I can handle this," your brain will find evidence for that too. Words are not just sounds. They are programming. They are instructions to your future self. The first step is to interrupt the negative pattern. The moment you catch yourself saying, "I'll never figure this out," stop. Replace it with something powerful. "I am learning. I am growing. I can figure this out." That one shift changes everything. You're no longer the victim of your thoughts. You become the director of them. And the more you practice it, the more automatic it becomes. Now, let me be real with you. This is not about standing in the mirror and chanting fake affirmations that you don't believe. This is about choosing words that feel true, but also push you forward. If you don't feel confident yet, don't force yourself to say, "I'm the most confident person alive." Instead, say, "I am building my confidence every single day." That's believable, that's powerful, and that's how change begins. Imagine if for 30 days, every morning, you woke up and instead of saying, "I'm so tired, I don't want to do this," you said, "Today is a fresh start. Today, I am going to give it my best. Today, I am stronger than I was yesterday." Imagine if every night, instead of going to bed with regret, you told yourself, "I'm proud of myself. I'm learning. I'm moving forward." Do you realize how different your life would feel after just 1 month of this? Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to shout these words into the universe. You don't need to write them on every wall. You just need to commit to saying them, out loud or in your head, every single day. Because repetition rewires the brain. Repetition builds belief, and belief changes behavior. The person you are right now is the result of the conversations you've been having with yourself for years. But the person you want to become, that person is waiting for you to change the script. So, talk to yourself like your future self would. Talk like the version of you who has already achieved it, already pushed through, already proven what's possible. For the next 30 days, make a decision. No more tearing yourself down. No more repeating the same excuses. For the next 30 days, you will only talk to yourself with words that build you up, words that push you forward, words that reflect the person you are becoming. And I promise you this, if you commit, if you stay consistent, if you talk to yourself like this for just 30 days, you won't just think differently. You'll act differently. You'll show up differently. You'll live differently. Your inner voice is not just background noise. It is the most powerful influence you carry with you every single day. It is the constant conversation happening in your mind that shapes your decisions, your confidence, and ultimately your destiny. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief, and every belief you hold directs the way you live your life. When you tell yourself that you are not good enough, your brain begins to believe it and finds evidence in the world to confirm it. If you constantly repeat that you don't have what it takes, you will hesitate, procrastinate, and pull back from opportunities that could transform your life. On the other hand, when you choose to repeat empowering words, your brain adapts to them as commands. If you tell yourself that you are capable, resourceful, and strong, your actions will begin to align with those words until they manifest into your reality. This is not magic. It is the psychology of self, talk, and the science of conditioning. The words you speak to yourself build pathways in your mind, and the more you repeat them, the stronger those pathways become. That is why a person who constantly focuses on doubt and fear begins to live in hesitation, while someone who trains themselves to repeat courage and belief begins to take bold steps forward. The difference is not in talent or luck. The difference lies in the internal dialogue guiding each choice. Think about how many times you have stopped yourself from going after something because your inner voice whispered, "You're not ready, you'll probably fail, people will judge you." Those words paralyzed you, not because they were true, but because you believed them. The words you choose are either a prison or a key. They either confine you to the life you've always known or unlock a doors to the life you want to create. Consider for a moment how athletes prepare for competition. They do not only train their bodies, they also train their minds. They repeat affirmations and powerful phrases because they know that when the pressure hits, the voice in their head will determine how they respond. The same is true for you. In the heat of daily challenges, your inner voice will either weaken you or strengthen you. If you have practiced speaking with doubt, you will shrink. But if you have practiced speaking with determination, you will rise. The small, repeated choices of how you talk to yourself each day decide the bigger outcomes in your life. What you think, you become. That is not just a motivational quote. It is a truth proven through psychology, neuroscience, and lived experience. When you tell yourself every day that you are disciplined, you begin to act in disciplined ways. When you tell yourself that you are confident, you start showing up in situations with greater presence. And when you tell yourself that you are worthy of success, you begin to attract and pursue opportunities aligned with that worth. The outer world bends to the inner world, and your inner world is created by the language you choose to repeat. You have the power to shift everything by shifting the voice inside your head, and once you decide to choose words that free you instead of limit you, the trajectory of your life begins to change immediately. Negative thoughts have a way of sneaking in quietly, and before you know it, they are playing on repeat in your mind like a broken record. They tell you that you are not good enough, that you will fail, that you should not even bother trying. These thoughts are not just harmless background chatter. They are patterns formed over years of self-doubt, fear, and conditioning. The danger lies in letting them run unchallenged, because once they take over, they influence how you see yourself and how you act in the world. The truth is, you cannot always control which thoughts pop into your head, but you can absolutely control what you do with them. Once they arrive, the moment a destructive thought appears, you have a choice. You can let it spiral, or you can interrupt it with intentional language that empowers you instead. Interrupting negative patterns begins with awareness. Most people live on autopilot, repeating the same inner dialogue without ever questioning it. The first step is to notice when those thoughts show up. It could be the quiet voice that says you are not smart enough for that job, or the instant fear that tells you to avoid taking a risk. The key is not to let that thought continue unchecked. You catch it and then deliberately disrupt it. Think of it like hitting the pause button. When you pause, you stop the momentum of negativity and create a space where you can insert a new choice. That new choice is intentional language. Words that are designed to replace doubt with strength. For example, if the thought arises, "I can't do this," the interruption could be, "I am learning how to do this." That single shift moves your brain from limitation to possibility. If the thought says, "I always fail," the replacement can be, "Every step I take is progress, and I am getting stronger." Over time, this practice retrains your brain. The negative pattern loses its grip because you no longer give it permission to dominate your thinking. You are actively rewriting the script, replacing old programming with new instructions that serve you instead of sabotage you. It takes consistency, because those destructive thoughts are deeply rooted habits. They will return again and again, but each time you disrupt them, you weaken their power. At first, it may feel forced or unnatural to replace them with empowering language, but repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds belief. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes to shift your thoughts in the moment. Eventually, the negative pattern fades, and the empowering language becomes your new default. It is like training a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. What once felt impossible to control becomes second nature. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought forever, but to break the cycle that keeps you trapped in self-doubt and fear. By interrupting the old pattern, you remind yourself that you are in control of the dialogue in your mind. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which ones stay and which ones are replaced. And when you commit to disrupting destructive thinking with intentional, empowering language, you create space for growth, confidence, and the possibility of becoming the person you truly want to be. Every word you speak to yourself is more powerful than you realize, because your brain is always listening. The subconscious mind does not filter or argue. It simply absorbs what it hears and begins to act on it. When you repeat words of doubt, fear, or limitation, your subconscious takes those words as commands and aligns your behavior with them. If you constantly tell yourself you are not confident, your brain begins to search for evidence to confirm that belief. If you keep saying you are bad with money, your decisions and habits will reflect that statement. On the other hand, if you consistently feed your mind with affirmations that build courage, confidence, and focus, your subconscious begins to reprogram itself to support those qualities. The reason this happens is because words are not just sounds. They carry meaning, energy, and instruction. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a truth and a lie. It simply accepts repeated messages as reality. That is why affirmations are so powerful when practiced consistently. By saying, "I am capable of handling challenges," you are not only creating a positive thought, you are planting a seed in your subconscious that grows into resilience. When you affirm, "I am confident and calm under pressure," your subconscious takes it as a directive, and your body responds accordingly the next time you face a stressful situation. The repetition of empowering words rewires your brain to think, feel, and act differently. Many people underestimate the effect of daily self-talk. They dismiss affirmations as something too simple to make a real difference. Yet science shows otherwise. Neuroplasticity proves that the brain adapts to repeated thoughts, forming new neural connections. This means every time you speak empowering words to yourself, you are physically reshaping your brain. The challenge is that most people are already practicing affirmations without realizing it. Only they are negative ones. Phrases like, "I'll never succeed," "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this," are affirmations too, just destructive ones, and the subconscious accepts them with the same seriousness as it would positive ones. The key is to take control of this process and deliberately choose affirmations that serve you instead of harm you. When you wake up in the morning and begin your day by saying, "Today I am focused, I am grateful, and I am capable," you are giving your brain specific instructions on how to behave. Over time, these commands create patterns, and patterns become habits. Courage grows when you consistently tell yourself that you are brave. Confidence builds when you repeatedly affirm that you can handle any challenge. Focus sharpens when you declare that you are disciplined and attentive. The power of words lies not in saying them once, but in saying them until they become part of who you are. This practice does not mean you will never feel fear or doubt again, but it ensures that when those feelings arise, your subconscious has already been trained to respond with strength instead of surrender. The language you feed your mind becomes the default setting of your life. And when that language is filled with affirmations of courage, confidence, and focus, your actions begin to align with the person you are determined to become. Transformation does not always come from massive, sweeping changes. More often, it comes from small, consistent shifts that compound over time until they create an entirely new reality. The way you talk to yourself is one of those small shifts, and while it might seem insignificant in the moment, its impact over 30 days can be life-altering. Your words shape your mindset, and your mindset drives your habits. By simply choosing to speak to yourself differently, you begin to rewire the way you think, feel, and act. Imagine spending an entire month interrupting the voice of doubt with words of possibility. At first, it might feel awkward or forced, like wearing shoes that do not quite fit. You may catch yourself falling back into old patterns of negativity and self-criticism. But each time you stop and replace that thought with a constructive one, you are carving a new mental pathway. Your brain adapts to repetition, and what feels unnatural in the beginning becomes automatic over time. This is how habits are built, through consistent practice that rewires your subconscious responses. Talking to yourself differently is not about pretending that challenges do not exist. It is about choosing a perspective that empowers you to face them instead of surrendering to them. When you say, "I can't handle this," your brain shuts down options and looks for escape. When you replace it with, "I am learning to handle this," your brain opens up, starts problem solving, and seeks growth. That small shift in language changes how you approach the situation, and when repeated over and over, it changes who you become in the process. The transformation is subtle at first, but after 30 days, the cumulative effect becomes undeniable. Habits are not formed by willpower alone, they are formed by identity. And identity is built through the words you repeat to yourself. If for 30 days you affirm that you are disciplined, you start to act in ways that prove it true. If for 30 days you affirm that you are confident, your actions begin to reflect that belief, and people start to respond to you differently. These shifts create a feedback loop where new thoughts lead to new behaviors. New behaviors lead to new results, and new results reinforce new beliefs. What started as a simple decision to change the way you talk to yourself becomes a chain reaction that touches every part of your life. The beauty of small shifts is that they are achievable. You do not need to overhaul everything in one night. You just need to make one change and repeat it consistently. The commitment to talk to yourself with encouragement instead of criticism, with belief instead of doubt, sets the stage for bigger transformations to unfold naturally. After 30 days, you are not just speaking differently. You are thinking differently, acting differently, and living with a stronger, more resilient mindset that can carry you forward far. Beyond the first month, success in changing the way you think and the way you live does not come from a burst of intensity that lasts a day or two. It comes from steady, repeated action that builds strength over time. The same principle applies to the way you talk to yourself. Saying something powerful once might feel good in the moment, but it will not create lasting change. What truly reshapes your mindset is consistency. It is the act of repeating empowering words every single day until they stop feeling like something you are trying to believe and start feeling like who you are. Consistency is what takes a thought and turns it into a belief, and belief is what drives behavior. Think about how physical exercise works. Lifting heavy weights one time will not transform your body, but lifting manageable weights consistently will create strength and endurance that last. The same logic applies to your inner dialogue. Telling yourself once that you are confident or disciplined does not make it stick. Telling yourself daily, even on the days when you doubt it, builds a mental muscle. Over time, those repeated words carve deep grooves in your subconscious, and your brain begins to treat them as truth. What starts as effort becomes automatic, and what begins as practice becomes identity. The challenge for many people is that they expect instant results. They want to say a few affirmations and immediately feel unstoppable, but that is not how the mind works. The subconscious mind is programmed through repetition, not through intensity. Just as negative self-talk becomes deeply ingrained by being repeated over years, positive self-talk must be practiced consistently to take root. The difference is that once you commit to the process, the changes can happen much faster than you expect. Even within a few weeks, you begin to notice shifts in your energy, your focus, and the way you respond to challenges. But only if you stick with it every day. This is why rituals matter. Whether it is saying empowering phrases first thing in the morning, repeating affirmations while driving, or ending the day with words of gratitude and encouragement, the key is to create consistency. The power lies not in the dramatic moment, but in the small, daily decision to reinforce the truth you want to live by. Over time, this repetition creates a foundation so strong that even when life throws difficulties your way, your inner voice responds with resilience instead of defeat. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you follow through and repeat the words you committed to, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. That trust grows into self-respect, and self-respect fuels even greater consistency. It becomes a cycle where the act of showing up every day strengthens both your belief and your discipline. Intensity fades quickly, but consistency compounds. By choosing to speak powerful words daily, you create a new internal language that becomes second nature. And once it becomes second nature, it begins to guide your life without effort. When you speak to yourself from the place you are now, you reinforce your current reality. You affirm your present limitations, your current struggles, and the identity you have carried until this point. But when you decide to talk like your future self, everything begins to change. Instead of repeating words that match where you are, you start speaking words that match where you want to go, and your brain begins to adapt. The subconscious does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to what is repeated. So if you consistently speak as though you are already the person you want to become, your thoughts, decisions, and actions will begin to align with that vision. Think about this: the version of you who is successful, disciplined, confident, and courageous already exists as a possibility. The question is whether you are giving yourself permission to step into it. Too often, people wait for proof before they change their language. They think, once I'm confident, I'll start saying I'm confident, or once I achieve success, then I'll start speaking like someone who is successful. But that is backward. You don't wait until you arrive at your future to begin talking like your future self. You begin talking like them now, and that very act pulls you closer to becoming them. When you declare, I am disciplined, even if you don't fully feel it yet, your brain takes it as instruction and nudges you to behave in ways that match the identity of a disciplined person. When you say, I am a leader, you start showing up with more authority and conviction. The language comes first, the actions follow, and the results catch up. This practice is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It is about choosing to anchor your words in the identity you are building, rather than the one you are leaving behind. You might not have the results yet, but you can choose the language of your future self. Instead of saying, I hope I can do this, you shift to, I am capable of figuring this out. Instead of saying, I'll try to be more confident, you say, I am confident and growing stronger every day. Every word plants a seed, and over time, those seeds grow into beliefs, and those beliefs shape your behavior. Before long, you find yourself acting in ways that reflect the very future you once only spoke about. The more you repeat the words of your future self, the more natural they become. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is a sign that growth is happening. With consistency, the language begins to stick, and soon it becomes second nature to speak with the authority, strength, and clarity of the person you want to be. That is when alignment occurs. Your thoughts, words, and actions move in the same direction, and transformation becomes inevitable. Talking like your future self is not just positive thinking. It is strategic self-programming. It is choosing to step into the identity of the person you are becoming and allowing your present actions to rise to meet that standard. The truth is simple yet profound. The way you talk to yourself shapes everything about your life. Your inner voice builds your reality, and every word you repeat is either pulling you forward or holding you back. When you interrupt the negative patterns, when you choose empowering language, when you feed your subconscious with affirmations of courage and confidence, you begin to rewire your entire mindset. Small shifts practiced consistently over time create transformations far greater than any burst of intensity ever could. And when you start speaking not from where you are, but from the place where you want to be, you step into the identity of your future self and pull that future closer to the present. For 30 days, if you commit to changing the way you speak to yourself, you will not just change the tone of your thoughts. You will change the trajectory of your life